Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Tiffany, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my updated eyebrow routine. So I have an old video on my channel of my brows, and I decided to come on and film myself doing them now because they look a little bit different than they did in that video. They are much thicker, much bolder now, much more in your face. So I wanted to show you guys step by step how I achieve these brows. Now these may be a tad bit too bold for some. If that's the case, you probably want to go to watch my first video because that video is more of an everyday brow, more of a brow for people who aren't really into makeup or don't want to spend a lot of time on their brows. This routine is definitely more elaborate and definitely requires more time. One thing I wanted to mention in the intro that I forgot to mention during the video is that I still use this product to give me those hair-like strokes in the front of my brow. This is the Maybelline Tattoo Studio Brow Pen. I have a review all about this product on my channel. I still use it to help create those hair-like strokes. I go in between the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pomade and this. I find this product to be a lot quicker to create those hair-like strokes, and this is more of my go-to product for that. Just want to say that now because I forgot to mention it during the tutorial. Okay y'all, without further ado, we're gonna jump right into these brows. So if you want to see my current brow routine, then please keep watching. So my entire face is complete except for these brows, and I'm also gonna add lashes a little bit later. But the first thing that I'm gonna do is go in with a mattifying primer. I know this step may seem a little bit weird and I was afraid to do it at first too, but because I have oily skin, I noticed that my brows would get really oily as the day went on. So I'm gonna go in with Makeup Forever's mattifying primer and apply it right to the brows. The only other person I've seen do this trick is Brianna Marie on YouTube, and that is where I got it from. I tried it, I liked it, and I've been doing it ever since. So I'm just gonna take a little bit and dab it right onto the brow. Before I add it to this brow, I'm gonna go ahead and spoolie this brow through. I've already cleaned up any stray hairs that I may have and trimmed my brows as well. As some of you may know, I do have microbladed brows. It's almost been 2 years since I've gotten them microbladed. At this point, most of it has worn off. I do still have some shading here in the front and a little bit in the middle. Most of the tail is pretty much worn off, but it's definitely time for me to get a touch up or get them redone, but I'm just not sure if I want to commit again. I'm gonna do the same thing. Tap some of that primer right over the brow. And you can do these steps in a different order if you like. I'm doing it this way because I wanted to have my base and the rest of my makeup done first, but you can definitely go ahead and apply this primer before your foundation and all your powders. I've done it both ways, and either way I get pretty good results. And I really am not using much primer at all. But this is just gonna help everything stay laid down and not get as shiny throughout the day. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is gonna seem a little bit crazy too. I'm gonna go in with some loose setting powder and apply it directly to my brows. I'm just gonna take this one Coverfx mattifying setting powder in the color medium, and I'm gonna stamp it right onto my brow hairs. This is the reason I waited to do lashes last, because some of that loose powder is gonna fall down onto the lashes and it'll be harder to clean up with falsies on. And again, I'm just doing it in this order for the video. You can definitely do this step before applying any of your foundation or after foundation, before you do anything to your eyes. It's all up to you. After applying a generous amount of powder, I'm gonna go ahead and let that bake for a minute or two. Okay y'all, on a scale from 1 to 10, how crazy do I look? All right, now it's time to dust away the powder. Just gonna take a brush and lightly dust away all of the loose powder. Also, you probably want to have a spoolie on hand just to dust away anything that the brush left behind. So the first product I'm going to go in with is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the color Ebony. And I'm also using ABH's number 12 brush as well. And I'm just going to pick up a tiny bit of the product. Any excess I have, I'm going to take it and wipe it here on the top. I also like to take my fingers and go over the brush just a couple times to remove any excess product as well. Just because you don't need much of this product at all, a little bit goes a long way. I'm going to start drawing hair-like strokes right under the brow. When I need more products, I'm just gonna pick it up here from the top. Not gonna dip back into the pomade. Next, I'm gonna start filling in the top of the brow. Then with what's left on the brush, I'm gonna go in and just fill in the tail a little bit. Now, of course, I'm gonna go in with a spoolie and brush through the product before I add anything else. Before we add any product to the front, I'm gonna go in and fill in any sparse areas with this powder. This is also by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's in the shade Ebony, and I'm gonna use the lighter side, which is this side here. I'm not gonna use very much of this powder. This is just going to help set the pomade and add a little bit more texture. If you have pretty thick brows, you can probably skip this step because it's not totally necessary. I realize I'm also supposed to be talking about my microblading experience while doing this brow tutorial, but I'm finding that it's kind of hard to talk while doing your brows. So as I mentioned earlier, I got the microblading done almost 2 years ago now. I don't think I'll get it redone. I'm kind of looking into micro shading or micropigmentation now, which is a little bit different than microblading. I don't know, the microblading I just think wasn't really my cup of tea. It looks pretty good initially, but afterwards I wasn't too crazy about the results. So as I mentioned, I've been looking into micro shading and micropigmentation, which is a little bit different from microblading. But I'm not sure if I'll do that either. I may just leave them alone for now. I've always had thin brows. They're not gonna get thicker. I don't care how much I allow them to grow. I don't even get them waxed anymore because when I was getting them waxed, they would rip them all off. I plucked them myself and they're sad on their own, but I may leave them sad for now because I don't think I'll be doing anything else to them anytime soon. Not to mention, the microblading process was very, very painful for me. Some people don't have any pain depending on how they react to the numbing cream. The numbing cream kicked in maybe about 10 minutes after she had already started microblading. She told me that she had to break the skin first and allow the numbing cream to penetrate, and then after that I would be fully numb, which was true. So after the first couple of strokes, the numbing cream kicked in and I was numb after that. It wasn't painful after the initial first 5 to 10 minutes. And after the numbing cream had worn off, after a couple of hours, it started to hurt again. I had to take like Tylenol or something like that to help relieve the pain. It wasn't too bad, but it definitely felt like I had tiny cuts on my face. Okay, moving on to finishing this brow because I look crazy. So the next thing I want to do is create some tiny hair-like strokes right at the front of the brow. So I'm just going to take a little bit more product here from the top, using that same brush, and go in and create the hair-like strokes near the front of the brow. I'm going to make sure I'm spooling as I go. Okay, here we have a brow that is almost complete, but before we finish it up, I'm gonna do something else. And I know this might seem even crazier, but I'm gonna bake my brow again. So I'm gonna take that same loose setting powder and apply it right over the brow. This again is gonna help control oil and make sure the brow products are locked in. While this brow bakes, I'm gonna finish the other one off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, and now you're done. Just kidding. Now it's time to dust the bake away. Gonna use that same brush, and you wanna use a gentle hand with this. You shouldn't remove any of the product as long as you're being very gentle. And I'm just sweeping back and forth to make sure that I get all the powder in between the hairs. Now I'll go in with a spoolie just to make sure we've gotten rid of all the powder. Another reason that I prefer baking the brows as well is if you happen to go a little bit too dark with your products, when you bake the brows for the second time, then the product tends to lighten up and look a little bit less harsh. We're almost there, but we're not done yet. I'm gonna go in with some concealer to clean up my brow. I always go in with concealer that's lighter than my skin tone. I'm gonna use MAC's Studio Finish Concealer in NC42. I'm gonna use just a small amount and apply it directly under the brow. I'm starting with the tail first, and then I'll move in towards the front. After you've applied the concealer, you just want to blend downward. And then normally I go in with a different brush to make sure it's all blended. So I went ahead and added lashes off camera. I also added some highlight to my brow bone. Next is time for the final step. And this one's probably the easiest of them all. I'm gonna go in with some clear brow gel. This one is by NYX. Just going to take that gel and add it to my brows. I'm applying it in an upward motion so that the brow hairs kind of stick up. This will also add a little texture to the brow and make sure that they stay in place all day. Okay guys, that completes this eyebrow tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. You know what to do if you did. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every single time I upload a video, which is usually twice a week. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. I will link all of that down below in the description box. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next one, bye!